Tonight we're 30 days away from a siyum on Seder Moed Lamaisa.
Taka, what's the plans? We have to make the plan.
The plan is like this. You listening to me?
Go ahead, Zevi. Go ahead. Let's hear. Take it away, Zevi.
The plan is that everybody's going to cook something, and we're going to do it in somebody's house.
Okay.
I say we do a destination siyum.
Yeah,
that's a bad.
That plan is not happening. Okay.
That's
a maybe.
Florida is beautiful this time of year.
Elio, can you host everyone at your house?
You're all welcome to Memphis.
I'll figure it out. If everyone wants to come, I'll figure something out.
Yeah, don't laugh.
Arizona's a long flight. Anything closer?
We go to Memphis.
How about
we can
Shabbos?
We go to Florida to Mike Austin. We can go to Mike Austin. What day of the week does it fall out on?
March 3rd. March 3rd, no?
I'm saying what day of the week?
Hold on.
March 3rd, I'm in Eretz Yisrael.
Zevi, you see? You made big plans. He's not even here.
Are you asking us to all join you? Are you asking us to all join you?
It's a
Thursday.
That would be a good destination, Taka. A good destination would be Eretz Yisrael.
Friday.
Like Groners as a group somewhere?
Groner could do it. We could do it.
I just said that. I said we're going to be Groner number 2.
Then we have to start raising money.
1 second. It's for Chodesh. Does that mean
Correct.
all expenditures, the plane tickets and everything are covered?
It has to be.
Good concept.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than Season Express. A little bit more than
I got to hear an
Express.
answer.
It has to be Lekovid Rosh Chodesh.
We'll go make a Chodesh trip, see him made.
I don't know how
It
that
has
works.
to be Lekovid Rosh Chodesh, not Lekovid. You want to go to Eretz Yisrael? That's his answer.
So it could be the cover of there. I got the siyum.
There are many places
here. Things anyway.
What do you say?
If parents were here, he would say, if we don't start the daf, we're not going to get to the siyum.
Oh, that's very good. Dr. Corman, good gesagt. Very good. Very good.
Aaron, we're going to make a thing. We'll get the tickets are $750.
No.
We'll cover, Yaakov will give a whole week share, and you'll make an itinerary for the week.
Done.
There you go.
I'm in.
By the way,
I don't want to get jabbed.
There are poskim that hold that you can take Meiser, you can use Meiser when you go to Eretz Yisrael.
All right, let's not get carried away with it.
I'm just telling you, there are poskim that hold that. Yeah.
Okay.
So Yaakov, if you can give him Meiser money to Darka, you can use it to go to Eretz Yisrael. What's the difference? Debbie, I'm sorry. It was too easy, that one.
One gets things accomplished, one doesn't.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Arbara, you were so close to being alumni of the year. You were so close.
This is Tarif. I love it.
I'm too far.
I hate to, Aaron, I hate to break it to you. The Maggid Shir is also an alumnus of Darkei Torah.
There you go.
By default.
Yeah, he didn't
like you breaking that to him either.
I think we should restart this recording.
Okay.
I would
Believe
think we
it,
could highlight it somehow.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, 3 lines up from the bottom on Chaf Amud Beis. You think talking about death would make us have less litzanis, but it's obviously not having any sort of effect, right?
Now it's been going on for 4 or 5 days already. Okay,
I guess so. We're already numb.
One day, maybe
we're sick of death already.
Okay,
we're desensitized.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's why nobody learns Moed Katan. All right. So, anyway, 3 lines up. Yeah, we got a lot of contemporary Avel shilas come up with tonight's stuff. Fine. Amemar shochav le barbare. So Amemar, this is continuing that whether you have to keep shiva for when relatives are sitting shiva. So Amemar shochav le barbare. Amemar's grandson died. Kara ilave. So he tore kriya, meaning the grandfather tore kriya on the grandson. Asabrei karabape. Then his son came. He tore kriya again in front of his son. Right? As a what do you call it? What's the word? Because he's supposed to do it together with yeah, very good, like solidarity type thing. Because he's supposed to do it with his son. Like Tosfos says, to be noyeg with him avelus. right? Idkar, the Meyushav Kara, then he remembered that he's tore kriya while he was sitting down. Kam Kara Moed, so then he got up and he tore kriya again. Right? So he
on the same shirt?
Seems like, I think the same shirt. I understood it as the same shirt. No, I think anybody learn anything different? I thought the same shirt. You can turn, one can tear kriya on the same shirt. You could just keep tearing down. Hopefully you don't have that many opportunities to tear kriya, but theoretically one is allowed to tear kriya on the same shirt. You just can't fix the torn, which we'll see Bez Hashem the 2 days daf from now. So okay. Anyway, so he tore 3 times. How do you know that you're supposed to tear kriya standing up? And Eov stood up and he tore his jacket on Talmud Aleph. Now for L'chavi Peretz, we start today's daf. Yeah, Elamiata, right? So if by chalitza, one of the psukim that he has to say, meaning the brother that doesn't want to marry his sister-in-law, has to say, I don't want to take her. So hachanami, does that mean he has to do it standing? Because it says va'amar, the one doing the chalitza has to stand up and say, Vatanya ben Yoshe ben Aymed ben Maita. Right, the one he could say it, whether he's the chalitza, he could say either when he's sitting down, standing up, or even leaning on something. So the chayra, that means that when the pasuk says he stood up and tore kriya, doesn't mean he has to. There it doesn't say by chalitza, it doesn't say and he should stand up and he should say. Right? Here it says and he got up and he tore. Right, so therefore, by chalitza, it doesn't say he has to do it that way. It just says that that's what's supposed to be done. Here is saying a story that he actually stood up and he did it. So it must be that that's what you're supposed to do. How do we know that the kriya is supposed to be moment? And Eov got up and he tore. So the Gemara says, maybe he was just doing something an extra chumrah. But Yoga says and he shaved his head, or he took the hair, pulled the hair out of his head. Does that mean every Avel has to do the same thing, pull the hair out of his head? So there can't be that we know from Eov. Maybe Eov was doing an extra chumrah. This is talking about in Shmuel when David HaMelech was told that all his kids were killed, right? So and he tore his begadav. So it says he stood up and he tore. So therefore, you see that you have to stand up and tear. V'dilma milsi yiser ta'avi. But maybe same question. Maybe David HaMelech did something extra. And then it says he lay down on the floor, right? Does that mean that every aval has to lay down on the floor? Vatanya yoshav agabi mita agabi kise agabi udaina, right? If the person, you may remember we learned a couple of days ago that really the aval is supposed to turn over his bed. So let's say he didn't do that, but he slept in the bed, right? Or on a chair, or on a dina, which is like some sort of tool, right? He's not yotzis chayv. Bottom line is he was not mekayim the mitzvah of an aval turning over his bed, right? So you see that there is no inyan for an aval to sleep on the floor. There's an inyan for him to turn over his bed. There's no inyan for him to sleep on the floor. So why would David HaMelech do that? So it doesn't mean that David HaMelech actually slept on the floor. He slept like he was on the floor, which is on a bed that was turned over. So if the bed was turned over, that's the equivalent of turning on the floor, sleeping on the floor. Okay, so that's how we know that one is supposed to tear kriya standing up, because we know from David HaMelech. Now, it's an interesting thing, because I think most mitzvahs are supposed to be done standing, right? And even when you watch somebody do a mitzvah, I was having this conversation with somebody today, having nothing to do with the daf, like in the chuppah. You ever see anybody sit for a bris? You ever see anybody sit by a bris?
The sandik.
Other than the sandik. And if the sandik's the mile too.
I'm friends with all the Kaplans. I've never seen anyone sit with a brisk.
Yeah, so I'm saying they stand by we stand by a bris. So really we're supposed to stand by a chuppah too, as far as I know. Right? Anytime. I think it even says that
Isn't that because we repeat the pasuk? I'm saying So you should stand. You're not really saying anything.
L'kavod the mitzvah.
I think people stand because they're saying the pasuk.
Which pasuk?
Whatever.
By a bris or by a wedding?
By a bris.
Ba'achniso b'vriso.
I'm saying, so what does that have to do with standing?
So you're saying a pasuk, you stand. On a chuppah, you're not saying anything. I mean, you're talking to your friend, but you're not saying a pasuk. Makes more sense.
I don't know. No, it's the covered the mitzvah. If you see somebody collecting tzedakah, you're really supposed to stand up for him. Not supposed to, most people stand up for him and run away. I'm saying, but you're supposed to stand up for the mitzvah.
Wait, so the chaver that's standing in the back of the chuppah, that's the right thing to do?
It seems like yes. I hate to say it. Yes, I hate to say it. It could very well be. I think in America is the only place that we sit for chuppahs. In Eretz Yisrael, everybody stands because they walk straight. There's no chairs. And Hasidim also stand. The chuppahs are outdoors. Everybody just stands around. So I don't know. I think that's what you're supposed to do. But anyways, okay, whatever.
The chuppah is the actual mitzvah or no?
No, but you're and l'kavod the mitzvah. You're supposed to stand. Zichur, the ones doing the mitzvah, stand.
Is the mitzvah nesuin or erison?
Both.
It's funny because at the chassan's tish, the chassan's sitting and taking and it's kind of the yarmulke. What's up with that?
It's not a mitzvah.
That's not a mitzvah. That's just
that's nisuin, no?
That's
no?
Both nisuin and erison happen under the chuppah. Oh. Not only that, the Meiri writes that the Birchas Kiddushin, we say alidei chuppah v'kiddushin. It's backwards. It should be alidei kiddushin v'chuppah because erison's first. Right. The Meiri says the bracha was written that way around because Lamaisa today we do nisuin before erison. Chuppah itself is nisuin. The erison is the ring.
Got it.
It's Yaakov. I actually see whenever I see Rabbi Brown by chuppah, he always sits and he's always learning. So if you're learning, you're doing a mitzvah also. I'm saying.
I hear. No, it seems like in America we don't do it.
Do you have to stand when you learn, it's Yaakov, according to that?
Do you have to stand? No, we had that in the Gemara. Which Gemara did we have about standing?
Really?
Yeah.
What should I do? Today they have no koyach.
In the old days, yes, they stood while they learned. Yes,
100%. We heard that in the Gemara. Because
so you won't concentrate. Able to sit while learning. You're able to sit while learning. Your ICB mitzvah pater from being involved in a different mitzvah, I guess. And they have to stand.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Wait, we had that also. It's a problem to learn by a chuppah.
No, it doesn't say you can't learn by the chuppah. You just have to be. It says you have to be at the chuppah. It doesn't say you can't learn by the chuppah. No.
It says mevatlin Talmud Torah.
No, you brought it down.
You said it by the
yeah. You brought it down. You said not to learn by a chuppah.
I don't know. Could be. All right. I don't know. I'm trying to make it a little more, instead of Levi's the whole time, we discuss a little bit chuppah.
We should always have to be by the chuppah.
Oh man. Yeah. Another interesting thing, and I actually had this with Rabbi Brown, but he was beside the one of my siblings' classes once we're on the same subject. Every time there's a mitzvah, you light candles. Bris, you light candles. Malka, you light candles. Shabbos, you light candles. You're supposed to light candles, right? So I saw once from Chaim Kanievsky, though the candles should not be put out by the chuppah. The chassan and kala walk down with the candles. The parents walk down. Whoever walks in there walks down with the candles. Then they put them out. They should be on. Look, covered the mitzvah. You're supposed to have candles. So I asked it to Rabbi Brown, and he said no. So I don't know, but it would make sense that.
And then he went back to learning.
He was Masada Kedushin, so he couldn't learn.
Yaakov, they have to put it out because they save the candle for the chuppah the next night.
The next one. I hear.
Yeah, the caterer is always rushing to throw that.
Right, he grabs that right away.
He grabs it, blows it out while they're still walking down.
If you want the candle burning, it's another $1,000.
Very good. Okay.
It also might be a little bit too dangerous.
Well, I don't know.
Kids running around. Yeah.
Saying you put it off on the side, whatever. I was by a chuppah where the father was nifter, so the caterer had the candles on the whole time. The father was nifter before, years ago, whatever, and not at the chuppah. Okay, but now we got to get it back to Avela, so I guess this is a good story to say.
Full circle.
I went to the caterer, I said, hey, you kept the candles on the whole time. You do that on your own? Like, do you do that by every chuppah? And he said, no, this is because he did a Lili Nishmas, the father, that should be a Ner Neshama by the chuppah. That was a new one. That I never heard, but it was okay. It was interesting. Fine. On that note, bye. Do
you need to break the glass at that point?
What do you mean?
Saying you already have a little
from a zeichel lechorban.
Yeah, you have a zeichel.
Right. I hear that. Yeah, I guess you got to do it because you got to do it. Fine. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So Tana Rabbanan. Ve'elu dvarim sha'aval aser behen. These are the things that an aval is aser to do. Aser b'melacha. He can't do melacha like we learned. U'berachitza, he can't wash. U'besicha, he can't smear ointments on him. U'betasha shamita, no relations. U'vanila sasandal, he can't wear shoes. But also likros b'Torah, u'benavim, u'b'ksuvim, he can't read any Torah. V'lishnais b'mishnah, and he can't learn mishnayis. B'medrash, he can't learn midrashim. U'b'halachas and halachas. U'b'hashas and shas. U'b'hagadas. Right? Okay, so that was a list of things he can't do. So Tosfos points out what happened to what do you call it? Turning over the bed and wrapping around your head. How come this whole list doesn't say that you have to do that? So Tosfos says these are the things that you're usher to do. Right? And what about meaning these are things that you're not allowed to do? Wrapping your head and turning over the bed, those are things that those are things you have to proactively do. This is a list of things you can't do. What about Tefilin and Sheila Shalom, which we're going to get to? Those are not the whole shiva, so that's not included. Okay, so that's the technicals of what's going on here. So anyways, but now this is a major halacha, which for some reason nobody keeps anymore. If the rabbim needs him, then he does not hold back from teaching, right? There was the Rav Yossi's son died in Tzipori. He was the Rosh Shiva or whatever Magid Shir, and it would be a bittul Torah if he misses giving shir. So therefore he gives shir, right? For some reason, and the Poskim say that even a Rebbe for kids does not should go teach the kids. So what are you going to say? That you have substitutes, this and that? Bottom line is not the same. It's not the same, the substitute. And if the Rosh Hashiva is not there, then it's also not the same. So I don't know exactly why it came out that we don't do this anymore. I think my father's told me that Lahavdim L'chaim Reb Feivel Cohen, when he was sitting Shiva, I think there was a fundraiser for whatever yeshiva he was involved in then, or his kollel, and he left the shiva to speak. Yes. I think. I can't. I know it's.
It was Darchis kollel.
It was Darch. Was it Darchis kollel? I think it was before that.
It was before that?
I think. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That's what I thought I remember. I don't know. I would have to find out. But really, that's the din. That is the din. But I don't know. I'm not sure why that we don't do it anymore. Fine. Rabbi Bar Chana Isra Bey Milsa. Rabbi Bar Chana had a bad thing happen to him. Savar the Loila Meifik Rapirka, and he thought he's not going to go teach because he's an Avel. Amalei Rab Chanina, and how you Rabbim Tzrichin Loi, ain't a Nimna. If the Rabbim needs him, then you don't hold back. Oh, that's what it is. Rabbi Yashiv Paskin for Rameir, what's his name? Schuster. He Paskin for Rameir Schuster that he should not sit Shiva, because if he goes a week without being Makara people by the Kaisel, there's going to be less people becoming from. I'm pretty sure that's what I remember.
Is it possible?
That would make sense why Eli Stefanski put up today on the daf a picture of Mayor Schuster.
Is that, oh yeah? Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe Taka. What are you saying, Zah?
No.
Anyway, so Savar the Leila Meir Amalei Rechanim, how you Rabban Tzrichin Ein Nimna. Savar la Kumei Amayra. So he thought to do it. We said this in Megillah, I think, that you stand up in Amayra, meaning he had like a translator to help say over the shir. So he thought he's going to do it the same way. So Amalei Rav. So Rav told him, Tanya Bavacha Lo Yamet Turgaman. You cannot put a Turgaman up. You can't put a translator, which is very interesting because why not? So it seems like the pshat is because you need to do a shinui of some sort to show that everything is not the norm. So since the norm was you had a translator of the shir, so since you're sitting shiva, don't do it with the norm. Okay.
And if you give a regular shir and you don't use him with Torgaman, so what's your shinui?
What do you mean? Nowadays?
I'm saying if a Rosh Hashiva, he's gonna give a shiur. So what's his shinoi?
I don't know. He would have to do, according to this, he'd have to do some form of shinoi. I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe he should give a shorter shiur. That would be a shinoi, right? Or a longer shiur. I don't know. Right? So it's a taka. What should he do? Right? So kiha the Tanya Maiso Meis B'Nosh Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, that the son of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai died. It's interesting how sometimes this is a Gershon kasha. Sometimes the Gemara says Isra Bei Milsa because the Gemara doesn't want to say he died. It says something bad happened, and then sometimes it says he died. I don't know why it gets interchanged. But Nichnas the Beis HaMedrash, and they went into the Beis HaMedrash. Nichnas of Chanani ben Akavia b'Yosher b'Tzidai. So he went into the Beis HaMedrash, and then Rabbi Chanani ben Akavia went and sat next to him. And he whispered the shiur to Rabbi Chanani ben Akavia. Rabbi Chanani ben Akavia the Turguman, and Rabbi Chanani ben Akavia told it to the Turguman, but Turguman is Shmiel the Rabbim, and the Turguman told it to the Rabbim. So there was a game of telephone going on over here. It was given over through three people, right? Which is quite interesting also because you'd think Rabbi Chanani ben Akavia could give the shiur. You know what I'm saying? What was it so necessary for Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai to give the shiur? I'm sure that I'm saying there were gedolim there too, that Mustama had the capabilities of delivering a fine shiur, right?
Is Reb Hanani ben Akavia the one that said Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu?
I think so. No.
So he was Mekayim what he said. He was marbet. More people involved.
That's true, but Lamaisa, the Paiskim do discuss how is it possible that how is it possible that you can just take the Avelus and bounce it for Limud Torah, right? It's not Pashut. Especially if you hold Avelus as Daraisa, at least the first day, right? So how are you just getting rid of an Issa Daraisa for Limud Torah? Okay, that's a whole sugya. Yeah. Now, also this Taisus, there's a Taisus here that says also Likras B'Torah. So this Taisus is the basis. We won't go through it now. That which learning you're not allowed to do on Tisha B'Av because it's compared back and forth. Meaning, to what are you allowed to learn on in Avelus? Does that mean you're allowed to learn that on Tisha B'Av, or maybe Tisha B'Av has a different din than Avelus? Because the Chayra Tisha B'Av should have the same din as regular Avelus. Okay, fine. So Tanur Rabbanan, second wide line. So Aval Gimel Yom Rishayim. This is the Tefilin sugya now of Avelus. Yeah. So Gimel Yom Harishayim, like we already learned, that the first 3 days are the roughest days of Shiva. After the first 3 days, we become more mekel. So the Aval, the first 3 days of Shiva, also l'nei Tefilin, he can't put on Tefilin. V'shlishi ve'elech, v'shlishi bechlal, from the third day, and the third day is included, meaning the third morning he puts on Tefilin. Mutter l'nei Tefilin, it's mutter to put on Tefilin. V'imbo panim chadashis, and let's say new people come, and they're going to think, well, look at this guy. It's only 3 days, and he's putting on Tefilin. Right? He doesn't have to take them off. We're not worried about what they're going to say. Divi Rebbe Eliezer. So again, Rebbe Eliezer says 2 dinim. One, first 2 days of Shiva, no tefillin. On the third day, you do put on tefillin because he said mixes a yom kakuloi, and then you could already put on the tefillin. And if anybody comes, you don't have to take them off, because it won't look like Marasayim. He's not concerned with Marasayim. The first 2 days, which is going to mean Misheni, V'sheni Bechlal, Mutter l'nei Tefillin. But on the second day, and the second day is included, it is Mutter to put on Tefillin. Right? So again, he holds just the first day you don't put on Tefillin. But he holds that if new people come to be Menachem Avel, you got to take off the Tefillin because it's going to look like it's Marasayim, because they're going to think maybe it's the first day.
Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi doesn't say it because they're going to think it's the first day. It's a different type of Marasayim over here, it seems like.
It is
because they're going to think he put on on the first days too. Why would we go so vite? Normally that seems much more vite than the average Marasayim.
It does 100%.
Like Mechatesi, you weren't there. You could assume a person did something. Why should we be chayshish for something it's not even down the Kav Schluss. The guy wasn't there. How do you know?
You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, I agree with you. And not only that, but some of they had a sign like until when they're sitting shiva, right? So anybody can do the math.
Right. They know that it's the third day. Right. I mean,
yeah.
In those people's heads, Is there any difference between the first day and the seventh?
What do you mean?
There should be a difference. Why should there be a difference?
Rashi doesn't say that. You'd be right, but Rashi's not saying pshat like that. Rashi's saying that they know that this is the third day, and they know that the third day you're allowed to, but they think that maybe Hitaka did it on the first 2 days.
Rashi doesn't say all of that. Most people don't differentiate between. Most people don't even know that the first 3 days are called shloshim bechi. The 7 days of shiva. So if he's wearing them the third day, he wore them the first day.
But Rashi says we're chayshish that they're going to assume the first days he wore it.
That's true. I would think the same thing. I would 100% think the same thing.
Otherwise, what's the problem, according to Rashi? He says because we assume he thinks that he put it on the first days. And if he doesn't
people would think that.
And if he doesn't assume that, it'll be fine, which means that he knows the third day you're allowed to.
What?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting chashash. I don't know. I can't say I fully understand what the chashash is. Because then what about the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th day? Maybe Itaka means that you should take it off then also. Okay, whatever it is. Somewhere of Masna, my time with the Rebbe Eliezer. How come Rebbe Eliezer holds you don't wear tefillin for the first 2 days? Really the first 3, but the third day, Mixasiyam Kakuloi, Tosiv. Yismu Yemei B'chi Evel Moshe, and it was the days of the crying over Moshe were done. And it says Yemei is plural. Some of my time, right? So it's plural. So 2 days you don't wear tefillin, and the third day you do. Amar Rav, ain't my time with Rabbi Yeshua. T'chsiv b'achrisa ki yoimar. Right? That's at the end of the. It's like the end of a how do you call mar? Bitter day. It's the end of a bitter day. So there it says 1 day. So therefore you don't put on tefillin for 1 day. Fine. Rabbi Yeshua nami hoksiv yismu yimei. It says plural like by Moshe. Amalach shani Moshe the Takiv Avel. Now Moshe was a very strong Avelus because Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader, so it was very strong. So that's why it was 2 days. A regular petira would be 1 day. Rabbi Elazar nami hoksiv achrisa ki yoimar, which is 1 day. Ikr mrira chad yoimar. He says the ikr is 1 day, right? But still, there's still a stronger Avelus for 2 days. How do we paskin? Amar Ula halacha Rabbi Eliezer b'chalitza, halacha Rabbi Yeshua b'hanacha. The halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer by taking, or not by chalitza. I mean that's the same word. By taking off the tefillin. Halacha Rabbi Yeshua b'hanacha, and the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua when you put on by putting on the tefillin. So they're paskining it both ways. Meaning, we paskin like Rabbi Yeshua that you put it on the second day. And we pass on like Rabbi Eliezer though that you don't have to take it off, right? If people come, you don't have to take it off. Fine. So Yibailu b'sheni leula chaylitz ayena chaylitz. According to Ula, right? So on the second day, do you have to take off the tefillin or not? So Tashma Amar Ula chaylitz maniach afilu meyapam. He has to take off the tefillin and put them back on even 100 times. Obviously, we're talking about back then they wore tefillin a whole day, right? By us, we just put on by davening and that's it. But back then, when they we wore tefillin a whole day, so if anybody new came to visit, you'd have to stop. You'd have to take off the tefillin and then put them on. Right? You put it on 100 times. Rabbi says, since you put on the tefillin, once you put it on, you don't take them off. Yeah, didn't our Rabbi say that Allah is like our Tana Da'amar Shloshim that says 3 days, right? So meaning not in this Tana. We said before that you have to turn over the bed, that the main Avelus is 3 days. So if the main Avelus is 3 days, so why would Rabbi say that you put on the tefillin after the second day? You shouldn't put on tefillin even for all 3 days. So on Talmud Beis. So we say mitzvah shani. No, for a mitzvah of tefillin, that's different. Right? So for the mitzvah of tefillin, you wouldn't wait the full 3 days. You'd put them on right away after 1 day. All right, Lamaisa, we paskin that the first day of Avelus, you don't wear tefillin. The question becomes, I don't know if we discussed it yesterday or not, or 2 days ago, the question becomes, is the first day the day of the Petira, or is the first day the day of the Avelus? Meaning in America, unfortunately, most don't get buried the day they're nifter, right? Somebody's nifter, unless they're nifter early in the night, then it's the same day. But if somebody's nifter, let's say in the morning or in the afternoon, we don't usually get the burial till the next day. So that's really the second day that the Avel was nifter. So should one put on tefillin that day or not? That's a big machlokes. So from what I understand, I mean, I don't think anybody says you should put on with a bracha. The question is, should you not put on at all, or should you put on without a bracha? I personally go with the opinions that that you put on without a bracha, unless the patira was the same day as the burial, in which case then for sure, according to all opinions, you don't put on tefillin that day. Right? Okay.
Do we also wait till after Chatzos on the day of the Kfur?
Do you have to wait till
after Chatzos? No.
Usually it's after Chatzos. I don't know. What would be the point in after Chatzos?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I remember when there was a shiva for me when my father was nifter. My father was nifter after Shkia in England, but for me, the Yom HaMisa was the day before. The day before he died was the Yom HaMisa because of the time difference. So right. I heard about his death 5 hours before he died, basically. But by him, it was after Shkia. So for them, it was the same day. As the Misa and the Kfur were the same day. For me, it was different.
Interesting.
I think they told me to wait till after Chatzos.
Oh, yeah?
I think.
Well, that will be tomorrow's daf anyways. We'll have to, right, the shmur, rechai, and all that stuff. Okay, let's see weiter. So now, Toner Rabbanon, Avel, top line on the base. Avel, Gimel Yom Rishonim, also be melacha. He's also to do melacha in the first 3 days. Vafilu ani mispanas min tzedakah. Even if he's an ani who only gets parnasa from tzedakah. Mikan ve'elech, ha'isa b'tzina b'sayf pesach. From there and on, he does it. He can do melacha b'tzina in his house. Right? Ve'isha toiva v'pelach b'sayf pesach. And a woman can do. She can spin the wool or whatever it is in her house. Right, so the question is, honestly, didn't we say that we just said on Amud Aleph that Avel is not allowed to do melacha at all? Right? Yeah, so again, we're going to say the same teretz we said yesterday, that it must be talking about a davar avod or something like that. Right? So since it's davar avod, then it's going to be a problem. Right? I mean, it's not going to be a problem. He's allowed to work. Fine. Tana Rabbanan. That's one brisa. Next brisa. Tana Rabbanan. Avel Gimel Yamim Harishainim Eina Hailach LeBeisa Avel. And Avel on the first 3 days can't go to another base Avel to be Menachem Avel. Mikan ve'elech Hailach ve'eina Yoshiv b'makam Menachem. He goes, but he doesn't sit in the part of the room where the people giving the condolences are sitting. He sits with the other people that are sitting shiva. Right? Fine. That's the second brisa. Third brisa is where, because it causes a lot of confusion, and it's another of the one of the hilchos avelus that developed that people just don't keep. So Tana Rabbanan, Avel Gimel Yom Rishonim also b'sheila shalom. And Avel in the first 3 days is not allowed to ask anybody how they're doing. Now there's going to be like sheila shalom. So shalom is one of Hashem's names. So there's a special thing of saying sheila shalom. So some places we're going to say that nowadays we don't say shalom aleichem. I mean, a lot of people do, but just saying how are you is not sheila shalom according to some. Even though really it is, you're asking for his peace. You're saying how's he doing. Some say no, it means to ask dafka using the word shalom. Okay, but we'll get to that. But either way, so the first 3 days, he's not allowed to ask anybody how they're doing. Shiva, from the third until the end of Shiva, he could answer, but he's not supposed to ask. After Shiva, he can be asked, and he could answer in the regular way. So the first 3 days, it's also b'sheila shalom. Vatanya, under the Brisa, Ma'isa Mesu Banosh Rabbi Kiva. There was a story that the kids, Rabbi Kiva, it says plural, right? The sons, right? From the end of the Gemara, it sounds like it should be only one son. So it's a shiloh whether it was 2 sons of Rabbi Kiva or there was once and not a shiloh. It's just a matter of what exactly happened. Okay, so Nichnusu Kol Yisrael v'spidu b'hesped gadol. So all of Klal Yisrael came and said a big hesped on his kid or kids. B'shas petirasan, when they were leaving from the hespedim, Amud Rabbi Kiva al Safsal Gadol. Rabbi Kiva stood up on a big bench. And he said, Achenu Beis Yisrael Shimu. He said, listen, my brothers of Bnei Yisrael, Afilu Shnei Banim Chasanim Menucham Hu B'Shvil Kavod Shasisim. He says, even if I had to bury two married sons, right, it would have been worth it because of the cover that you did for me. I don't really mean worth it, but he mean whatever. That's a big cover. Even if the cover was so great that it was as if there was even two sons buried. And if you came for Akiva, there's many Akivas on the shuk, right? Right. So that you don't go to. Right. Song of the Daf for parrots. Yeah. So Torah Lekov is in his heart. So you weren't, Rabbi Kiva was saying, you weren't honoring me, you were honoring the Torah that's in me, right? For Kol Shekain, Sheschartem Kofel, and it's a Kol Shekain that your schar you're gonna have double the schar, right? So meaning he was very happy that there was such a shimon of kavod Torah, and then he said, L'chu levatechem l'shalom, go to your houses in peace. So Rabbi Kiva, who was in the first 3 days of Avelus, said to everybody, go in peace, which we just said you're not allowed to do in the first 3 days. So Gemara answers, covered Rabbim Shad, showing covered to the public, that's different. Right? That would be allowed. What we're talking about is in private. Okay, then the Gemara asks on the next stage, Megimel Vad Zayin, Mei Shiva Nashayil. From the 3rd day of Shiva till the 7th day of Shiva, he answers and he can't ask. And after Shiva, he could ask and answer in the regular way. Or I'll ask you a stira from a brisa. Somebody finds his friend who's an Avel. So in 30 days, in shloshim, you can talk to him tanchumen, right? Meaning you could say Hamakim Menachem, but you can't ask him how he's doing. After 30 days, you can ask how he's doing, but you can't tell him tanchumen. After shloshim, you don't say Hamakim anymore. But if his wife died and he married another woman during shloshim, which we'll see in coming up tomorrow or the next day's daf, that really you're not allowed to marry somebody. I think it's 2 days. You're not allowed to marry a woman in shloshim, right? But if the person doesn't have kids, so the mitzvah of having kids takes precedence, and then he would be allowed to. So that would be the case here. So Meisa Ishta v'Nasa Isha Cheres, if his wife died and then he married another wife in shloshim, Einu Rishal Likanas Lebeisai, L'Davrim Terchumen, you're not allowed to go into his house because, like Rashi says, the new wife is going to be upset. Maltzu b'shuk, but if you meet him in the street, Amrlai b'safa rafa v'kavod roish, you tell it him with a soft lip, literally, and kavod roish with a seriousness. So whatever it is, you see that you are allowed to, right? I'm sorry, you're not allowed to. After Shiva, you don't say anything to him. Yeah. So Maravidi Baravin, who shal b'shalom acherim shacherim shruyim b'shalom. Right. So what it means is that he can ask others after Shiva, right? Because they're in peace, right? So since they're in peace, so it's not right. Since he's in peace, he's allowed. Since the other people are in peace, he could ask them how they're doing. But nobody could ask him how he's doing because he's not in peace because he's still up to shloshim, right? So then the Gemara asks, but we said that he can answer. That means that you're allowed to ask him. So you see, you are allowed to ask him how he's doing. So we say, no, that's somewhere what he didn't know, right? He didn't know whether the guy was in Avelus. If that's the case, then over there too, right? So why is he not allowed to answer? Maybe the guy didn't know. So Hasam Maidalei Veloy Mahadalhu. There you have to let him know, right? And you should not answer. Meaning, in the first 3 days, if somebody would go over to Avel and say, how are you? He say, I can't answer. I'm in Avelus, right? But after 3 days, you don't have to. You can after 3 days, you can just answer him. You don't have to ask. Okay. So then the Gemara says, "Ramino ask you stira. How might is chaveiroi? If somebody finds his friend Avel b'sayich beis chaydesh, so if he's an Avel within the 12 months, you could speak with him tanchumen, like say hamakam, but you can't ask how he's doing. But after 12 months, you ask how he's doing, but you can't be medaber with him tanchumen. But you can speak to him on the side. When you could talk to him on the side, like you don't say Rashi says you don't say the name of the nifter. You just say, it's sad, whatever phrases you say. If somebody sees an Avel after 12 months, meaning the year is over, and he starts being Menachem Avel him, this is an interesting mashal. The Gemara says, "Lamahu daima." What is that similar to? So somebody who broke his leg and he healed. Maltu Raife. He finds a doctor. And he tells the doctor tells him, "Klach etzli, you should come to me as your doctor." Shani shoyver v'apreno. I'm going to break your leg again and I'm going to heal it. Kidei sheteda shesamamana shali yofen, so that you should know how good a doctor I am, how good my medications are, right? And that's. So you, by being Menachem Avel somebody after his year is over, that's like breaking his leg again. Like there's no point, right? Whatever it is. So what do you see from here? So that after shloshim, you are allowed to say. So like kasha haba avi ve'imai haba shar krayvim. One is talking about mother and father, and one is talking about other relatives, right? So then the Gemara asks, right? But by other relatives, let him also say tanchumen on the side, even after shloshim. The Gemara says, you really could do that. What does it mean that you can't speak tanchumen? Kedarka, it means in the regular way. But you are allowed to speak to him minatzad. Okay, so what is the bottom line, right? We try and do the halacha l'maaseh. What is the bottom line? Can you ask Naftali Liner how he's doing or not? I don't know if anybody cares to ask him how he's doing, but if they do care, right? Can you ask him or can you not ask him, right? I mean, there's all sorts of...
Rabbi told me that he said hello, how are you? Then he took it back. He said, I'm not supposed to ask you that.
Right. So now I'll tell you, see, it's very interesting because the Ramah, I think it's the Ramah that brings that the Velt doesn't keep this anymore, and he doesn't really say, let me pull it up. He doesn't really say, but everybody asks about presents. Are you allowed to give presents to an Avel? And everybody knows you can't give presents to an Avel, and an Avel can't give presents. It's coming up, it's Adar now, so Shalach Manas is the big one, right? So the reason why you can't give presents is because of this Isser. It's because of this Isser. Giving a present is like asking an Avel how he's doing, right? And then it also says something in the Ramah that if you're not allowed to ask how he's doing, then you're certainly not allowed to schmooze with him, right? So, what should I tell you? So the Lashon.
So Navel's not allowed to talk to anyone?
Yeah,
the whole year?
Really, he's not supposed to socialize in the streets, and he's not supposed to, really, that's really what's supposed to be. The Velt doesn't keep this stuff, right?
Isn't it the opposite?
What do you mean?
Word just said, I can't be shayil the shalom of an Avel. Avel who shayil b'shleimchem.
Really, he could. He's
supposed to.
But he's supposed to go first.
Yeah.
Once the Avel asks how you're doing, you could answer back how he's doing. Yes. But the Lashon Ramah, I'll read the Lashon Ramah. The Ramah says, "V'yesh makilin ha'idna b'sheila shalom ha'avel la'achar lamed." After shloshim nowadays, we're mekel ve'ein tam lahem, and there's no reason. That's the Ramah says. He says they're mekel, but there's no reason. other than by saying that what we do nowadays is not considered their Sheila Shalom, right? So at least we have precedents that the Ramah, it's not just in America that we're oisvars and we don't listen to the halacha, meaning even in the Ramah's days, they didn't, right? So that's basically why we never heard of this halacha. But the truth be told is that it is better. What does it say? The Magen Avram says, hold on, let me try and pull that up. Right, the Shach and the Magen Avram that say lichatchila, a person should not ask an Avel how he's doing the whole year. But if you do it, then you don't have to make a macha on him, right? So, but again, it seems like saying the word shalom is more of a problem than just saying how are you. That seems to be the Ramah's bailout of why we're more makel. Okay, we'll stop here because it's a new sugya. We have a new sugya tomorrow from here. Okay, fine. Gute Nacht and a good Jahr and
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we got up from shiva for my father, we were discussing this Ramah in context of this Gemara. And we came out that this whole din is because bra kara davua.
What does that do with this?
Because it's the whole year we pass him with bra kara davua. His whatever mitzvahs he does, he had miyuchas to the father.
Right.
So Mela, that's the lashon of the Ramah. Ain't time that today the people are shoyl shalom with an avel. Ain't time that there's no reason to do it. It's not right. What you should do is let the avel be shoyl shalom. The more shalom that the avel's marba, the more zechuyas the father gets, the parent gets, whatever.
Well, because he's wishing people well.
Because he's being Isaac in their shalom, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I hear. Sure, I could say because Reb David Cohen, I once heard him say in a shiur, when people say Shalom Aleichem to you, they're giving you a bracha. So say Aleichem Shalom back.
Yeah.
He's saying you have to.
That's the Gemara about Rabbi Yochanan. No, Rabbi Yochanan said Shalom Aleichem to everyone he met, even the Arab in the shuk, even a goy.
Right.
But Gershon, by the way, I think it's a Mechanani ben Akasha. Just by the way, no,
yeah,
Mechanani ben Akasha. I'm pretty sure.
You're right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst your bubble. Still a good word.
No. It happened before in Shabbos.
Yeah, we had it. We had him also. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't go to enough mincha ma'ariv on him, Gershon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Off to the wedding of the night.
Okay. Enjoy.
Yeah. Bye.
When you're Siyagiv.
Yeah.
Did you? I didn't see it.